today we're going to do a neat little project. I'm going to show you how to grow wheatgrass. We're going to go through every step beginning to end. Wheatgrass is grown for a variety of reasons. One really good reason is because it's super healthy. It's detoxing to the body, cleanses the blood, rebalances all of your organs and systems. So a lot of people juice it and drink it pretty regularly. Another reason is if you sprout it and don't let it go fully to the grass stage, you can actually grind it up and make a really healthy bread that has a lot of vitamins and minerals and stuff that you don't get from just the wheat itself, but you will get it once it's sprouted. But another, and one of the main reasons we're going to be doing it, is for what people call fodder systems. And this is a way of giving your livestock a much healthier food base and also stretching your feed. Alright. You can do a fodder system with any feed grain. Barley grows really fast, but wheat is the most nutritious, and also it's, we're growing it for us too, so I'm going to use wheat. But going back to using it as a fodder system, it stretches the grain a lot. What you're going to use, what you're going to get out of about 50 pounds of wheat grain, you're going to turn into about 200 pounds worth of feed by just adding a little bit of water and a few days time. The whole system is very quick. It takes 7 to 10 days tops from beginning to end to feeding it. So if you have a couple of different trays, you can get in a rotation and be having new harvest every single day for your animals and for you. So let's show you how to do it. One thing you have to know about wheat is that it's a winter grass. So it's not going to survive outside during the summer months because the heat will kill it. Wheat grows best between 60 and 70 degrees, so if you're going to grow it year-round, you can grow it outside during the winter, but if you're going to grow it year-round, you're going to have to set something up inside. And we live in south central Louisiana. It gets really hot, so we definitely have to put something inside in the air condition. So what I have set up here, and I'm going to tell you everything that I got and how easy and very inexpensive all this is to set up. What I'm doing, and you can get your wheat grains from your wheat seed from, if you're growing it for fodder, from really any co-op or feed store, but you're going to want to get the ones that have already had the chaff removed, which really isn't expensive, about $8 for 100 pounds. You can get it with the chaff on it, but you're going to have to clean it yourself and remove that, which really isn't hard. I'll tell you how to do it when we get to that point in the process. So for those that are growing it for personal use, you can get this stuff at like a Whole Foods or a health food market, but you're going to pay a lot more than what you need to. You probably can do better at a farmer's market or direct from farmers or feed supply stores and so forth. So let's make it. Alright, the system that I have set up, I'm going to show you what I got here. Basically, what I bought was like this extra large kitty litter pan. And the reason I went for this is because you're going to be doing this and using the same things over and over, so you're really not going to want something that's going to fall apart on you too quick. You want it to be pretty durable. And so I went with the largest pan that was durable that I could get for the cheapest amount of money. And this was about $4, and it's pretty big. It's about 15 by 21. So for $4, that's not bad. And it's really strong. It's going to last me a while. Now, because I'm doing this inside, you have to water these things a lot, and I don't want a mess on the floor, so really that's what I'm using these for. Now, if you're doing this for livestock and you want a big mat of it, you could just get 2 of them and set the other one inside of this one, put some holes in the top so that this would catch water at the bottom. But the way I'm doing it, I'm having smaller portions because I have different livestock. We have chickens and rabbits and all of that stuff. The goats and sheep don't need it because we just plant it straight in the field for them. But and also for us as well. So inside of these things, I can put 5 of these, and this is just a cheap little old Tupperware. It was like $2 for 3 of them, something like that. And so I'm gonna get all 5 of my little trays, and each one of these I will have a different crop and that I can cut up and then serve to the bunnies and so forth, that I can be in rotation giving them one of these a day. So we're going to need to put some holes in this so it can drain, but you don't want to put a lot of holes because you actually want them to sit in water a little bit. When you put the water on them, you want it to drain very slowly. You don't want them to stay in water continuously because they'll mold and mildew and rot. But you do want them to be able to soak up a lot of water, so only put a few holes. Now where you place your holes depends on where you want the water to come out. A lot of people that do this, they'll put the holes only on one side and set it to tilt to make sure all the water comes out. You can do that with larger pans. I don't find it necessary with these because the way the Tupperware is made, there's already a low-lying rim. So I just put a couple of holes in the low-lying rim, and then that way the water is definitely going to come out without pooling because it's going to run to the lowest area. So we need to put a couple of So in my low-lying rim, I put 4 holes. And of course, because I like to give you options, if you don't have a drill or anything, you can do this with a hot fork, or just heat up a fork or a knife or anything, that a screwdriver even, just put it in the flame on the stove, get it hot, and touch it, and it'll go right through that plastic. It'll melt it really quick and easy. Alright, now the way I'm going to have this set up is I have 3 trays set up like this with 5 each. So once I get my rotation going, that's going to give me enough to have 2 harvests every day. 2 of these full of wheatgrass and root to harvest every day that I can then cut up and give to the animals or use myself or whatever. And it'll give me one to grow on, give me an extra in case I miss a day or I'm not home and we fall behind a little bit. So I'll be planting 2 every day and harvesting 2 every day once the rotation starts. I'm going to show you how to do all that. But the next step that we need to make our germinator, because this is the quickest and easiest way. You can germinate them starting in the trays, but it's not advisable. This works quicker, works better, and it's just a much safer way to do it without losing, it gives you a better germination rate. You won't lose as many seeds, and you won't get as much mildew either in the early stage. So, or mold. So what you're going to need is a quart-sized mason jar and a ringed lid without the middle part, just the ringed lid part. And then you're going to need some kind of netting or veil material. I have this left over from my wedding, and it's so handy. I just keep it and keep cutting it up because you can use it for so many things. And we're going to use a piece of it today. So just cut you a piece out. In fact, I might even double it up. So let me go ahead and fold it in half. Alright, cut it out, and I'm gonna double it. You don't have to, but I'm gonna go ahead and double it because I can. I have plenty to use. Make it a little stronger. Alright, then what I'm gonna do is you're gonna put it over your jar and close it on with the lid. Very, very simple. And I'm going to show you what you do with this in the next. Alright, your next step is going to be to figure out how much of this you're going to need to germinate. So we want to cover the bottom. Just a little bit of that. You want to put enough to cover the bottom of whatever surface you're planting, if it's smaller, if it's bigger, whatever. But you want to cover it at the bottom, pretty thick. Not probably 2 or 3 thick to make sure you get a good germination there. So, because I'm going to plant 2 a day, I'm going to need twice this amount. So what I'm going to do is figure that and put it in my jar. Do it again and put the same amount. Got my bottom covered. Maybe a little more. Some people will put this thing half full. You're wasting. It's not going to germinate through all of that. So you can only grow so much in the space. You want to make as much out of this as you can. Remember, again, 50 pounds of seed is going to turn into about 200 pounds of food. That's actually a lot more nutritious than the seed itself, so it'll go a lot further. And again, we paid like, I don't know, $8-10 for 100 pounds. So, That goes a long way. So that 100 pounds that we bought is going to turn into about 400 pounds of food. Alright, then we're going to cover this top with our net and close it up. Alright, and now starts our germination process. Day 1. Alright, at this point you need to wash them. Cold water, don't use hot water. It can be lukewarm, you know, little bit warm, but I wouldn't make it too warm. Alright, first thing you want to do is go ahead and fill it up with water. If you bought grains that have the chaff still on it, this is the point at which you would be taking the chaff off. Because if you can see, you have floaters. That would be any chaff that's still in there, immature seeds, trash. That's stuff that's not going to germinate. So you want to take that out, because anything that doesn't germinate is going to decompose and cause mold to grow. So we want to take all the floaters out. Easiest way to do that is to just pour the top water off into a colander so it doesn't go down your drain. Add some more water. Do that, you know, a few times, 2 or 3 if you have grain that's already been dechaffed. Probably more, like 5 or 6 if you have chaff, so you can try to get all that off. And of course, all this chaff and everything you take out of it, you can feed to your chickens, throw in the yard. Alright, so that's good. It's got most of the floaters out. At this point, we want to rinse it a few times. I like to add just a touch of apple cider vinegar during the rinse process. And that's going to help to kill any mold spores that might be in there. I don't leave the apple cider vinegar in it during the soaking process because it's going to make the environment too acidic, and they don't like that. So that would affect germination. But I do put a little bit, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and put my screen back on. Swish it around. And pour the water out. Now, for people that are just sprouting grains, for example, to make like Ezekiel bread or something, you can actually make these and it'll grow all the way to the sprouted stage within this jar. The only reason we're not going to continuously do that in the jar is because we're going to have a process by which we're going to be rotating and doing this every day. So we're going to need to use the jar every day. Whereas if you were just doing it to grow some healthy little sprouts, you could let them grow in the jar. And within 3 days, you'd have some good sprouts, and you'd be rinsing them out like this every day with your screen cloth. So I'm going to take my water, I'm going to put just a touch of warm, because this water's a little bit cold, not hot. Just kind of make it lukewarm. And I've got this good and cleaned, so now we're gonna fill it up with water. Make it a little more warm. There we go. And we're gonna cover the seeds completely by a good 2 inches. And then we're going to let it set like this for about 8 to 12 hours. You don't want to go any longer than that because it'll affect germination, because they'll begin to rot and ferment. But a good 8 hours, 12 maybe if it's cool. And that's going to start the germination process before we transfer it to our trays. Alright, at this point, it's been about 8 hours. So I've drained it, and of course with this system it's super easy. You just turn it upside down and it drains it. So now I'm just gonna open it up, and of course, if you remember, we had enough for 2. So I'm gonna pour in 2. Alright, so get all of them out. And of course they've swollen because they've been soaking, so it's going to take up even more. We'll get them all out into the containers, and I'll scrape the rest out in a second, and then spread them evenly across the bottom. Now, seeds like to germinate in darker conditions, so the way I'm going to set this up is I'll have my seeds all the way at the bottom where it's a little more shaded, and the sprouting plants on the second shelf and the growing plants on the third shelf. So the older they are, the higher up and the more light they'll get. And of course this is indirect light just through the windows, so that's all we really need. And I'm gonna put some blocks underneath to kind of elevate them too, to make sure that when I water them they drain and the water collects in here and it doesn't sit in the bottom. So that's it for tonight. Tomorrow we'll do the same process again and fill 2 more, and then I'll show you exactly what it is we're gonna do to these tomorrow. Alright, it's day 2, and they've dried up a little bit, but you can still see that they're swollen and puffy, and there's some little tiny shoots starting to come out already. So what we're gonna do, let me show you what I did here. To elevate these things, I put some old Jenga blocks underneath them, and I'm putting them like this right now, but if I find that I need to elevate it more, I can always turn them sideways. But you can use anything, you know, some scrap wood or whatever, but you do want to get them up off the bottom so that the water can drain out of the holes, because you want to give them a good soak, but you don't want them to sit continuously in water. So the 2 that we put yesterday, we want to give them a good covering of water. Shake it a little bit, and see, that's pretty good because it's covered in water completely, but it is slowly draining out, so they won't sit continuously. Now, day 2, we're going to go ahead and put another round soaking, because the objective here is to be able to plant 2 every day and harvest 2 every day once we go into rotation. Of course, if you're doing this for your own consumption, you don't have to do this. You can do it, you know, 1 a week or whatever. But if you're doing this as a livestock fodder system, you need to be in a rotation so that you can be harvesting every day. And what I did, since I'll be doing this every day, instead of having to measure it out like I did the first time yesterday, I went ahead and marked on my jar how much I'm going to need to do every day, so I can just pour it in straight from the container how much I need every day. And of course mason jars have some measurements on them, so you can use those. But what I need fell a little short of 2/16, so I went ahead and marked it with a permanent marker, and I will just continuously use this. And I will do the same thing I did to this yesterday. I will do this every single day and plant a new one every day. So these are all good and wet. We're going to do this twice a day. You can do it preferably 3 times a day, but my lifestyle is way too busy for that. I know I'm probably not going to be able to maintain it. So I'm going to see how it works doing it twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. Cookie, what you doing in there? You're not supposed to be in there, Cookie. Don't ignore me. Cookie, get out. Alright, by the end of day 2, you should see them starting to sprout really good. Look, I'll kind of see, that's the sprouts starting to come out. Okay, you can see how quickly these things are growing. You can eat them at this state. They're actually very healthy for you. Grind them up to make a more healthy bread. But you can see big difference today. And it's kind of dark and shadowy, but just lots and lots and lots of germination. Alright, let me show you. I made a little adjustment here. I drilled a hole in the bottom, in the center of each tray, so that as I water, and the water starts to drain through the tops and fill up the bottoms, it just cascades down and I can collect it under here and reuse or throw out regardless. It makes it easier so I don't have to, you know, remove these to get the water out of the collection tray. So you can see up here, you can see the growth is just so fast. All right. All right, planted these today. These were yesterday, and then that one at the bottom, and this one was the day before that. This was the day before that, and the day before that. So, yeah, makes it easy. You don't have to worry about getting that water out, it just collects down there. Alright, day 4. Let's see, I'm getting some nice shoots growing up, starting to get a little bit of a root mass there. And now I'm going to try an experiment. I have a grow light, and I'm going to put them on it at night and see if it speeds up the growth any. Alright, I'm going to show you. Oh, that noise you hear is of course the water draining because I watered it and I have it set where everything drains back down into that little bucket. So if you live in an area where water is not that accessible, you can keep reusing the same water. This is a grow light. Grow lights used to be very expensive and not very effective, but now since they have these LED grow lights, they're actually pretty cheap, $20 to $30 a bulb, and it'll cover a pretty large area. So this can actually cut the grow time in half, and I wish I would have thought to do it from the beginning. I might go ahead and do another run with one under the grow light just to see how quick I can get it to grow. But if I put this on it at night, then it's going to grow 24 hours a day. So if it typically takes 7 to 10 days, you could probably do it in 4 or 5 days with the grow light. And of course they're LEDs, so they don't take a whole lot of electricity. Alright, here we are, day 5. Starting to look more like grass. Looking pretty good. Let's see where we get good root mass. And day 6. It's coming up above the tops of the Tupperware. Still growing, doing good. And it's about to get dark and I'm going to be gone by the time it gets dark, so I'm going to put the grow light on it tonight. Because it did seem to grow a little faster when I put the grow light on it. So if you had to do this completely indoor with no windows, you could do it with probably 2 of these little grow lights. Like I said, about 20 bucks each on Amazon. And again, they're LED, so they don't take hardly any electricity. Alright, we're at day 7. We're at day 7, and at this point, it's perfect for juicing. For those who like to juice wheatgrass, it's still tender. The shoots are doing really, really well right when it starts to break that first nodule. I'll show you up closer, but since I'm going to use this for fodder, I'm going to probably let it go another day or two, and let's just see the progress, because some people do it for 7 days, some people do it for 10 days. So this is at your 7-day mark, and we'll see what it looks like at the 10-day mark for experiment's sake, to show you the difference. But it's going great, and of course this is yesterday's, the day before, and on down. So once we start the harvest, we'll be in a rotation, and every day we'll harvest 2. Alright, today I'm going to show you day 8 growth. And I'm going to show you, I might pull one if I can. I don't know if you can see how well you can see through this plastic. When you know it's perfect for juicing, they say it's at its like optimal nutritional value when it starts to break the first nodule. Alright, having pulled one, you can see right, oops, too much. There, see that nodule? There you go. When you see it do that, and we're at day 8 right now, and I'm seeing most of them do that really good, then that's when it's perfect for juicing. And of course for juicing, typically they cut the grass, they don't use the bottoms. The bottoms are still good, they're healthy to eat, and of course the whole thing is good for fodder for your animals. But for experiment's sake, we're going to go ahead to day 10, because like I said, some people prefer to go to day 10. And it's growing so fast, I don't see why not. Let's go ahead and make it to day 10 and see what happens. So again, these are my newest up to the oldest. And this is day 8. Alright, and to give you a final gauge of how this is going, I just have it set to drain. And the reason I have it drained like this, just through a single pour hole in the middle, is to make sure that there's no splashing or wetting on the floor. I've seen other people's system and they've had to cover the floor with plastic, and this works really well. I haven't had anything get wet on the floor because everything goes down the center. So very, very easy. I've seen people hook aquarium pumps to this and just recycle the water and have a timer on it so they don't have to fool with it at all. That would work. The only thing that I would be afraid about is using the water over and over and over, because if mold starts in one and you're running that same water through everything, you're just spreading those mold spores. So, you know, even like this, I wouldn't use the same water more than 2 or 3 times tops. I really haven't been using the same water. I live in Louisiana. Water is abundant. The state is covered with water all the time. Like, most of the state is underwater most of the time, so water's cheap here, it's easy to get. So I'm using fresh water every time. If you can, it's advisable. If you are short, you know, if you're in a dry climate where water is not so readily available, you can reuse it. I would still replace it every probably 2 or 3 days tops. Keep that mold growth from spreading all over. Therapeutic cookie. She likes listening to the waterfall. Alright. We're at day 9. It's pretty long, and honestly at this point I don't think I would leave it much longer. We'll go ahead and do one more day since it's already nighttime on day 9. And we're only going to day 10, because what I'm starting to notice is that there's a little tiny bit of yellowing at the tips of some of these. I don't know how well it's going to show on the camera, but there is just a little tiny bit of yellowing, which tells me that it's getting to the point where it's running out of nutrients from the seeds, and since there's no soil, it's going to probably degrade in health from here on out. So we'll go one more day to day 10, and then we'll begin the harvest. Okay, so here we go. I've got one that I've dumped out of the tote, and I'm going to hose these off really good. In fact, I should probably go ahead and hose them off while they're in there and let them drain. And then I'm going to cut my greens and put them in the bowl and bring them to the bunnies, and I'm going to give the root mass and the unsprouted seeds to the chickens. I can give you a good look at the root mass. So this is all added nutrients. The chickens can get the bottom, the bunnies can get the top. They say you can give the bottom to your bunnies too. Some will eat it and some won't. I don't think it's too wise to do that, because you never know if there's a little bit of mold growing in there from something that didn't sprout. So at least the tops you can tell it's clean and know what you're giving them. Chickens are a little bit more hardy. They don't really care if there's a little mold. So, alright, cut them up. Okay, so now I have a bowl full of tender wheatgrass shoots, and then I've got these carpets of root mass, and there's still some green on it, which will be really great for the chickens because that'll help them to lay eggs. That grass on it will help them. So let's see how they like it. Yes, indeed, they do like it, because there's laying pellets and corn still on the ground from this morning that they haven't eaten.
coming out for this. Yeah, they are loving it. Well, it definitely gives you happy chickens. You like it? Yes, indeed, huh?